My name is Sylvia James. I am with the National Science Foundation, where I'm Director of the Division of Human Resource Development. And Human Resource Development, or HRD, is where the LSAMP program is housed. I think this morning's sessions were very informative and helped you to see that the LSAMP program has not been stagnant. It has really grown and developed over the years, and that the experiences of, particularly for the students, and the program design that is being implemented by the alliances is based on evidence-based approaches. You learned a little bit about the various components of the 10-toe model and the incorporation of social, academic, and professional integration. And a little bit about the research, the in-depth research that's been done on the program and the various tracks that have been added to LSAMP since it was created 25 years ago, Bridge to the Baccalaureate and Bridge to the Doctorate. I just want to recognize the work of the LSAMP team. You met Dr. Art Hicks and Dr. Tasha Ennis, who are co-leads. Also in the group today, we have Martha James, who people keep thinking I'm Martha. We're not related. But Martha, as you know, has been with the program for quite a while and done incredible work, as well as their support of Maurice Dews, who's the program specialist, and Al Wilson, who work with LSAMP, who I'm sure you've all gotten to know. It's my pleasure this afternoon to be able to introduce to you two very accomplished presenters, and I'll begin with Dr. Joe Handelsman, who's our first speaker. Dr. Handelsman is the Associate Director for Science at the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, appointed by President Obama and confirmed by the Senate in June of 2014. She helps to advise the President Obama on the implications of science for the nation, ways in which science can inform U.S. policy, and on federal efforts in support of scientific research. Prior to joining OSTP, Dr. Handelsman was a professor in, she was with the Howard Hughes Medical Institute. She was a Howard Hughes Medical Institute professor and Frederick Phineas Rose professor in the Department of Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biology at Yale University. She's also an expert in communication among bacteria that associate with soil, plants, and insects, and helped to pioneer the field of metagenomics, bridging agricultural and medical sciences. She received her Bachelor of Science degree from Cornell University and a PhD in molecular biology from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. There's a lot more that I can say, but I'm sure she'll tell you a little bit more about her background. Dr. Handelsman.
Well, thank you, Sylvia, and thank you all for being here. It's a real honor to be here. To be on the podium with the same name as Louis Stokes is something I never thought I would be able to do, so thank you for having me. I'm really pleased to join the 25th anniversary symposium of the LSAMP program, and on behalf of the White House, I want to be here to tell you in person just how important broadening participation in STEM is to our president and to the entire administration. Our STEM enterprise depends on broadening participation for a number of reasons, which all of you know well, but I'll outline in a minute. The president has talked about the importance of science since the very beginning of his administration. His first speech on science was to the National Academy of Sciences, in which he talked about science being as important as ever and restoring science to its rightful place in society. And that was a better place, and I think we have achieved some of his vision, despite some of the constraints of the last 7 years. Some of his initiatives have been particularly ambitious and exciting. One is the Educate to Innovate campaign, which proposed to train 1 million more bachelors in science by 2020. And we are well toward that goal. I don't know if we will actually achieve it, but we've made great progress in increasing the numbers as well as the diversity of students in STEM. That program, Educate to Innovate, was first supported by federal funds, but the administration gathered $1 billion in private funds to augment the money that the government could invest. And so that has further inspired and prepared all sorts of students across the country and helped to prepare teachers to teach those young people. That has also had an emphasis on underrepresented groups and helped underrepresented groups, as all of you do, excel in fields of science and engineering. Broadening participation is important for many reasons, and although I know this audience doesn't need to hear it again, I think that it's good to hear it again, even if we don't need to hear it again. First of all, it provides opportunities to people in our society who have not had those opportunities. And so by extending STEM education and workforce opportunities to underrepresented groups, we make sure that there is a little bit more equity in our society in terms of the distribution of jobs. We know that STEM jobs lead to higher earnings than non-STEM fields with the same amount of education. So we're also beginning to redistribute salary earning power across the society by bringing more underrepresented groups into STEM. We also need the increases in the talent pool to just reach the numbers that we need in STEM. We can't possibly reach our 1 million goal of increasing above our standard production rates of bachelor's degrees in STEM without reaching well into the underrepresented groups. 32% of college students today are white men, so we can't keep drawing disproportionately from that group to populate science and engineering enterprises. For one, we won't be drawing on the best talent. Two, we won't have enough people. And three, we won't be creating the kind of diverse mix of people that has been shown by research in many different fields to generate the most creative and important discoveries. So we should be interested in STEM diversifying and bringing a broader participation into STEM, but we need to focus on it. So we should be interested, but it's really a necessity of our future. And so I really applaud all of you for the work you're doing and for joining with the administration to broaden participation in STEM to meet those goals. It's fitting that the White House was asked to lend our voice to acknowledge and recognize a federally funded success story in diversifying STEM. And I think the Lewis Stokes program is one of the great examples of using federal lift to change the course of education and workforce demographics. The program was established, as all of you know, 25 years ago, which I can't quite believe because I remember when it was established and I was not in my cradle then, I promise. And I will mention also as part of an institution that applied for an LSAMP and didn't get one, and that was one of the ways that I learned just how powerful the goals of this program are. Originally, the goal was to increase by doubling in 5 years the participation of minority groups in STEM, and that included African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Native Hawaii Islanders, and Native Alaskans. And interestingly, in looking back over the numbers, I've been amazed at how well this program has reached into all of those groups and increased participation in STEM fields. There are now 45 LSAMP sites with over 500 universities engaged, and collectively, you have all generated 500,000 new bachelor's degrees in STEM. I find that absolutely exceptional, and I give you applause for that. I'd also say from a government standpoint, where we're often asked to look for the benefits of the finances that we invest, I'd say this is a really good return on investment. So thank you for giving us that tremendous story to tell. I'm also quite enthused that you came together to talk about what works. I think that's a critical point to be at in a program like this, because after years of researching many different approaches, I think you have begun to home in on some of the important elements of those approaches that actually do work. And exchanging data, research results, and ideas about how to implement the best programs is really the stage that you're at after 25 years of doing this. You've been using an evidence-based approach since long before it was even popular, and I think your 25-year history gives you more evidence and data to support the ways that you educate people than many other programs in education. What I find particularly exciting and makes it very easy, I would guess, to sell to administrators in academia is that the things that you do to educate a broad group of students are the very things that help all students learn. So there are no practices that I've read about in the LSAMP program that are unique to underrepresented groups. Those are programs that are simply good education. And so that makes it clear that our underrepresented groups simply weren't getting some of the same benefits that other groups were before, and you have evened that out and leveled the playing field. And again, I thank you for that. We also commend the National Science Foundation, which recognized very early on that this was going to be a game changer. And in my experience, the NSF has been particularly forward-thinking, sometimes even ahead of the scientific community, about what was going to work, what was going to be needed in the future. And if you think back, for those of you who can remember, 25 years ago, this wasn't the most popular program. It wasn't the stunning success that it is now. And it's remarkable how many people gathered around and invested their energy, and the NSF invested both their name and their resources to make this happen. I think this commitment has produced an enduring legacy for the United States and also for Louis Stokes, which I think is one of the reasons that we're all here today. I think this program is now named for a legend. I think Louis Stokes is absolutely iconic, and so it's so appropriate that the program was eventually named for him. One thing that I've been quite amazed at in his career is his ability to appeal to all different kinds of people and reach with his message to many different groups. And I think that was exemplified the best in 2015, a fairly rancorous year in our Congress, when the Senate and the House came together for a resolution honoring Louis Stokes and his service. And this program was mentioned and highlighted in that resolution, and I quote, "Whereas given his commitment to education, the Louis Stokes Alliance and minority participation in STEM at the National Science Foundation also bears his name. Whereas LSAMP assists universities and colleges, increasing the number of students completing high-quality degree programs in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, in order to diversify the STEM workforce." And they were resolved that the Senate and the House of Representatives honors the life, the accomplishments, and the legacy of Congressman Louis Stokes. And I think he also deserves a round of applause today. So I bring to you from the White House a strong commitment and support for what you do. We are deeply committed to changing the future of STEM. The president has, as I'm sure you've noticed, not slowed down on implementing his agendas at all. And we have just started 2 new programs, one called Computer Science for All, which is aimed at broadening participation in computer science and making computer science available to all K-12 students. And also STEM for All, which is a broader program that looks at the needs of underrepresented groups and then suggests programs that can be implemented, and we've named a number of these, that can increase participation of those groups in the STEM fields. And so even in his very last year as president, we are still implementing new initiatives and making them, we hope, sustainable and anchored in government in ways that they won't go away even when this administration is done. So I thank you for all of your work. I hope that you yourselves have benefited as much as everyone else has from the LSAMP program. You've certainly strengthened our nation's STEM programs by having this program, and in turn, that's strengthened the fabric of these United States of America. And so on behalf of the people of America and the government and the White House, I thank you for all the work you've done.